there are times where expectations are very good and very helpful.
You want the minimum amount to actually pick up the book and start reading.
Yeah.
But no more.
So when I got to first law and books like that like take your expectations and just kind of shit on them, that it was kind of like watching Reservoir Dogs for the first time as a 15-year-old. Me, like, I didn't know you could do this. That's how you get Wheel of Time, you know. Mm-hmm. The worst book series ever written.
ZB, you've gone up to a 10. Oh my god, I love him. Full turnaround. Welcome back, everybody, to another Two to Ramble episode. I'm one of your hosts, Austin.
I'm the other host, Richard.
And we are joined by a panel from the Nerdy Nebula podcast. We have the privilege and the disprivilege. The more I look at them, the disprivilege. We have ZB Steele, who's a 3 out of 10. You know ZB Steele he's the author of Song of the Damned, and we have the pleasure of having him on here. He's showing it as well. You could go see his book, still be in the description. We have Jeff Brown, who's currently in his mom's basement. Hi, Jeff, from the mom's basement. You check him out at jeffbrowngraphics.com/prints. He's the renowned artist of book covers. If you've seen a book cover, modern fantasy book, Jeff Brown has likely used technology to paint the thing. They're fantastic covers. And we also have Nicholas Fuller, who is currently writing Sanguine of the Stars is serializing on your Patreon. Is that correct? And we'll have that down below. But you guys are from the Nerdy Nebula podcast. We're here to discuss how expectations ruin reading and the review space, and having artists and authors to discuss this, and podcasters. Nobody better than to have a discussion about that. And also we have you, Rich, who, yeah, I guess.
I read things and I'm critical online.
So, guys, thank you for coming. Are you guys ready to break this down of how expectations ruin reading, and from your personal experiences, but also as a reader, but then also from the artist perspective?
I mean, right out of the gate here, does anybody here particularly disagree with that statement? Do expectations ruin reading? Does it hurt? Does it help? Anybody?
I do think it hurts.
Okay.
I wouldn't say ruin. I feel like ruin is too strong of a word, but we are on YouTube. We got to get those clicks. We got to make that money. We got to have the faces. So I personally wouldn't say ruin, but I've certainly had books where I went into it expecting to, fuck yeah. I don't know if cursing's allowed on here, if that's good for the algorithm. But, you really want it to crush, and you expect it to, and then it kind of falls flat. And then what should have been, a 3.5 star falls like a 2.5 star.
Mm. Right.
Nicholas, how about you?
I think that, it can ruin a book. Like, it can absolutely just destroy it. And but it depends. Sometimes it does, but like, some of my favorite reading experiences are when I came into the book knowing almost nothing, Mm-hmm. So but at the same time, I feel like it is a fine balance, because ultimately you do want a little bit of expectation. You want to have some idea of what you're getting, and enough to sort of feel a little bit comfortable. But then I think you do also want to have room to be surprised. I think that's the balance that, like, authors and, cover illustrators are trying to strike,
Yeah, Jeff, because you set up the expectations, Jeff, sometimes with the covers you make of, hey, you're showing this is your first impression of the book. Often people will buy books based on the cover.
I have done so frequently.
Yeah, I'm sure with books Jeff has been the artist of. So what do you think, Jeff, being the expectation setter?
I mean, I think it's a terrible idea. I've done covers for a lot of books I don't know if they're good or not. I know some definitely are. Some definitely are fantastic, though.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good way of telling. As far as for indie authors, I would say the one thing is an author who is willing to put down a certain amount of money will also usually be invested in their product. Not necessarily, though, but I would say that might be a sign. But other than that, I think it's hard to tell. I don't think that the covers, for me personally, play a lot of role. It'll catch my eye for a book, but I end up reading a lot of books that have covers that I personally really don't like. And I'm more based off a review. So I think that I don't use covers as a kind of way of that'll be a good way of me buying a physical book. Mm-hmm. And you guys had mentioned that before, that it's like, yes, I'll buy a lot more stuff rather than just an ebook or something if it has a cool cover. But for me, I definitely don't really take the cover into account, except for if it's like how much the author has invested into their own project, I would say.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think with the review space in general? Because Jeff, you're saying you go to a review and that will likely get you to pick up a book. How bad can that get if a reviewer you like and follow is going, oh my God, this is my favorite book of all time? Or if they say the big superlatives and then you're going to read that book and now you can't get that out of your head. That is what the reviewer told you.
Yeah.
How do you take that?
Yeah, it's a struggle because I think I try to kind of avoid. I want to hear the reviews, but then I don't want to hear them. Like I try to kind of not hear too much about the book to build up certain expectations. I'd rather just like, I think you'll like this, but it's hard to get that in a very concise way. So I think it absolutely affects me when I hear a review like this is like my favorite book ever, and then I'm like, it's not clicking for me. Something about it isn't clicking, and so it might just be that it's not for me. It might not be the right time or something. Ideally, I wish I could just kind of get somebody that knew my exact tastes and would just be like, just read these books and they're interesting, and then make up my own feelings about them as I go. Like that'd be ideal, but obviously not exactly possible.
I'll say for my best experience to ever experiencing a story of any medium was the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. For the pure reason, people know that movie. I knew nothing. And it was also in early on, it was maybe opening weekend or opening 2, something like that, where it was this A24 film. Nobody knew how big it was going to be, that was going to win the Oscar. I knew nothing. And
why did we decide to go to that anyway?
Because our friend said, hey, watch the movie. But didn't say, they liked it. And they're like, hey, watch this unique movie. They didn't hype it up.
Right.
They didn't say superlative. So I walked in going, all right,
what's this movie about?
I
know
watched the
nothing.
movie.
Right.
And to the viewers here, I won't spoil the movie, but I'm watching this movie with this Asian family who has this laundry. They have this laundry shop and they're doing taxes, and I'm going, okay, they're doing laundry taxes. I guess it's a slice of life. Like, oh, cool, fun. And then the scene where you see Michelle Young watching the screen, or not watching the screen, they're talking, and in the background you see Ken. Oh my goodness, I'm getting the names off. But you see Ken's character, who, oh my god, what's his name in the movie? It's failing me. But he's jumping around in the background doing like acrobatic moves. What is that? And I love the movie, by the way. But has anybody had that experience of where, like Nicholas, you're saying you walk in, zero expectations, and it blows your mind because maybe that helps that you had zero expectations going in?
I had it with a movie as well.
ZV, yeah.
I kind of stole a copy of Whiplash from either Publix or Kroger way back when they sold movies. I took the sticker of a $5 DVD and then put it on that and then just walked out with it basically. And the only thing I knew about it, and don't sue me, Publix, now that I have a little bit of money, do not sue me. But the only thing I knew was it was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and so I turned it on at like 1 in the morning. And have you guys ever seen Whiplash?
Yeah.
Love it.
Greatest movie of all time. But yeah, just like the intro with the drums, I was like, well, this is kind of weird. And then, good God, that's the greatest movie ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think sometimes having no expectations or even reduced expectations. Anna Smith Spark was recommended to me 30 times. Because all I would do is I'd go on Reddit and I'd say, I want character-focused, purple prose, dark fantasy. And people would say, read Anna Smith Spark. And I don't know if you guys know this, but her Goodreads scores are terrible because she's very hated or loved. She's averaging a 3.6, which on Goodreads, no good. Yeah. So it took me 30 recommendations to get to her. And by the time I did, I opened up, page 1, this is awesome. This is incredible. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think having reduced or no expectations is certainly better when you're finding a gem.
Yeah.
Nicholas, you find the same?
I think that's on the nose. Yeah, I one of my favorite experiences was reading Project Hail Mary. I knew nothing about the book, nothing at all, except that it was by Andy Weir, and my mother was like, "You'll like this," Yep. And it was so fun coming into it that way. I think maybe part of it might be because the main character has very little idea of what's going on either.
True.
But no, it was just delightful that way to kind of experience it all kind of the same way along with Ryland Grace. But yeah, I do think that stories can get ruined by overhype expectations. I tried to read The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and that was my first Joe Abercrombie. And like, I'm reading it and I'm like, clearly the dude can write, but also I've heard so many like glowing, amazing things about Joe Abercrombie. Kind of at a point I was like, this is good, but like, I don't know. It didn't like grab hold of me and just like carry me the way I really love some books. I think it would like has a slightly slower beginning, and because of that, I was like, I'll come back to it, and it's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's like I've heard so many amazing things about how Abercrombie is just the best ever.
He is.
So that's where my bar was.
But then,
is it him or is it Anna Smith? You have to pick one.
Oh, I love Anna Smith Spark to death. She's got the best prose in the world. Joe Abercrombie's literally the goat.
It's ZB's fault that I put The Devils down. Yeah, right.
But it's interesting because if you take that same Joe Abercrombie book and you, instead of saying Joe Abercrombie, it was actually, let's say your mom wrote that book and handed it to you. Hey, I just wrote this book. Do you want to read it? And you're reading it and going, Mom, you are literally an artist. Like, what the? How do you write fight scenes like that? Mom, start writing fantasy books. Like, just changing it from Joe Abercrombie to your mom is like will floor you. Essentially, because if Rich, you hand me The Devils, I'm going like, Rich, whoa, you are get into this space now, and that's where it gets weird on the reviewer side. So for Rich, when we're reviewing a book, how much does that impact like your score you give? Of again, if that's your mom's book versus Joe Abercrombie's book, I think would we rate The Devils differently? I mean, you'd hope not, right? But
I would hope not, but to some degree, probably. At least emotional impact, like that would be a factor. But to me, what goes into those expectations, I'll ask the table after this, but like, is there a realm of like, do expectations, are they necessary? Has it ever helped? Have you ever taken a book with like zero expectation? You weren't going to read it, weren't even going to enjoy it, but having the appropriate expectations of someone telling you, hey, look, get to 50% of the book, or hey, telling you from the outset of, hey, the narrator is lying to you. Keep that in your mind as you read this, and you'll have a different experience, and you'll being prepped for a certain kind of book. Is that also true? Do you know of any cases? Because I can think of a handful of. It's important to set the right expectations to give a reader proper expectations going into a book. Because right off the top of my head, Book of the New Sun is one of those books of you absolutely do not want to just like hand that to somebody and like just read that. No. I think to enjoy it for most people, you have to set appropriate expectations. You have to tell them a little bit of, hey, when you're reading this book, read between the lines. Hey, this is a dying Earth. This is a dying Earth sci-fi. Try to find the clues to what if that's the case. Hey, the narrator's lying to you. Find where the gaps are. Like, telling a reader that before they read it, I think is almost essential. Especially if you're dumb like me. I need that. I need that prep.
I was in the same boat as you with Book of the New Sun. Like, I spent half of that book being like, Severian's a beast and also has never forgotten a single fact. And then throughout the whole book, she's like, I forgot this.
Yeah, no, the entire time, like in the beginning, I have a perfect memory. And then several times I'm going, who is that person? I know I've met them before. It's like, I thought you had perfect memory. Yeah. But have any of you guys run into that?
Yeah.
I did with Sun Eater, actually, which is like probably going to go down as a top 3 series for me. But I actually DNF'd Empire Silence the first time I went through it. Because, like, no offense to Rockio, because he's phenomenal. He's amazing. But, like, Empire Silence is just fairly solid compared to the rest of his stuff, which is elite. So I was kind of like not in the mood for it, and I DNF'd it, and then I had a buddy just be like, no. You got to go back, you got to finish it, and you got to get to book 2. So, yeah, I mean, for Empire Silence,
That's our buddy Coop told us of like, hey, look, read Empire Silence, get through it. You don't get to stop until you finish book 2.
Yeah, I
And
would say the red scene in book 2 is when it really takes off.
yeah, that's up there. But yeah, to me, book 2 set the ground of if this is a philosophical opera journey that like it
Sure.
just it meant so much more than just your action space opera, which is I think set the appropriate expectations for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
But what about you, Nicholas?
Okay, so 2 points. One, definitely agree that there are times where expectations are very good and very helpful. Um, there's been a few times where one of our other co-hosts, Dante, has recommended something, and he's like, Nick, go read this, go check this out, and but then he tells me like what he likes about it, and that helps me be like, you know what, yeah, that was pretty cool. Like there were other things that I thought were kind of shit about this book, but that thing was kind of cool, you know. So that's good. And similar to that, Dana, our fifth and final co-host, there's times where she's like, check this out. Look at the way this author, man, the Long Way to a Small, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, her character work specifically. It's worth, as a writer, it is worth reading her stuff just to like kind of see her character work and the way that she does an introduction with an argument that drops you right into a conflict. And it's kind of doing a stealthy exposition jump. It's brilliant, you know. And if you're looking for those things and kind of being prompted to begin with, it can be very helpful. But the other thing, kind of the other way, I recently read Fourth Wing because I wanted to, because it sold so many. And like, again, as a writer, I'm like, what are people enjoying? There's that. And plus I thought it'd be fun to read before Valentine's, maybe a future episode. But uh it benefited for me by very low expectations. I thought this was going to be terrible, you know, because that's what I hear. But actually, as I was starting to read it, I was like, wait, this isn't the worst thing I've read. This is, you know, I see what's going on here. That was an interest, and you know, I talked a little bit about like the balance between a little bit of comfort versus something surprising. I think a lot of the people that don't like that they've read a ton and they're finding nothing surprising about Fourth Wing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, your experience with reading is going to set your own expectations of how well read are you. So do you notice all the tropes? Does it feel more like a cliche because it's so repetitive? This is just this book, and it's just an imitation or a copy, which I've said about books, you know. So
yeah, right.
But how much does that take into effect for your own reading experiences from, or do you guys feel that earlier on when you were first getting into reading again, or maybe you never stopped, were you more lenient or just more liked more books, and then did you become more jaded because of your experience? Is that a universal thing, or is that off base?
Oh, I was super jaded.
Yeah.
I grew up reading, you know, the Dritz and the Dragonlance stuff, which is super cool. But like, it made all the tropes, right? Like, and it's never going to surprise you. Like, he wrote 80 of them. They're going to be about the same. So when I got to First Law and books like that like take your expectations and just kind of shit on them, that like it was kind of like watching Reservoir Dogs for the first time as a 15-year-old. Me, like, I didn't know you could do this in like media. So that yeah. I would say the more that I read, the more jaded I become, and the less interested in like the comfort, the tropes. It just doesn't do it for me anymore.
What about you? What about you, Jeff? And also, bless you. Stop sneezing. This is a podcast.
Hey, 2 is a fine, 3 is a crime. I'm not there yet.
Okay, Jeff. What about you? Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, I think somewhat, for sure. I think I find myself really, depending on the mood I'm in at a certain time, emotionally, what part of life I'm in, affects a ton as well. Sometimes, like, if I'm feeling, there's a certain level of nostalgia where you want to read something that's just kind of fun and like, you know, but then there's like, most of the time I'm like, I'd rather read something interesting. So it depends when it hits you. So I think there's space for everything, but I do find myself wanting things that are a bit more, I think, quality in terms of writing and interesting in terms of storytelling, wrestling with more interesting concepts for sure. I think also the other comment I was going to say, just a bit like on the last topic a little bit, was just I think what with expectations about getting to a book, I think a big thing is if it just hits you the right way, it's not gonna be that for everyone. And I think First Law is a big one, and Joe Abercrombie is a big one. That if you just love that very niche kind of humor and tone, it's not even humor exactly. It's just like that, like Lockta just makes me like cackle and just like, oh, that's that's so cool how he's in pain. Like there's something. It's like it's really funny that there's a nihilism to it that I really like, and a lot of people are very turned off by that. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm very turned off by, that a lot of people, that's what they look for in a book. So I think there's a certain level you can explain this is why it's really good, but it's not going to be for everybody as well. And I think that's okay to just be like, you know what, this one wasn't for me, but it's probably still great, but it wasn't quite for me.
Yeah, also the time that you experience the story in your life is going to impact. Hey, are you a kid when you watched this? Just to correct, it's Ki Hoi Kwan, by the way. So when I watched Everything Ever All at Once and seeing that at that time in my life, oh, perfect. When I read Percy Jackson as a kid, perfect timing. Who knows what you'd think about a book, especially one that's not targeted for you in your demographic age group. That kind of thing is just going to be different.
Well, I read The Wheel of Time when I started getting back into fantasy. The sequence of events was basically I read The Way of Kings. So I started reading Stormlight. I stopped at, I think, book 3 or 4 to wait for Austin. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, I'll read Mistborn. And then I was like, oh, well, what else? I love Sanderson at this point. What else does he have? And I saw he finished The Wheel of Time. So I'm like, I had a job that required, like, I needed to read I had a lot of books. I had a lot of time to read. So I was like, okay, 14 books. That's actually kind of what I want. I want a 14-book series. And so it was basically the third series I read after picking reading back up as a hobby. I am so glad I read it then. Of many of the tropes that now I would see as like repetitive were fresh to me then. And and even by the time things were repetitive and maybe I could see the patterns, I fell in love with these characters. And so I don't care anymore. I'm now invested in these characters. I'm invested in the world. And so now any particular flaw doesn't matter anymore. So now when I go back and I reread it, I'm in love with these characters. I don't care that I now see the repetitive tropes, but the tropes to me are done well in a frustratingly interesting way. And I enjoy it. But I can see myself, if I tried to read The Wheel of Time new today, I would probably have a rougher time with it. I don't know. But
that's the difference. If I read Red Rising right now, it would still be perfect. So you're just get better, kid. That's basically
just get better.
But that does help too, because I probably read Red Rising at the right time. But also, I love it. It's weird.
There's also Wheel of Time does scratch a particular itch for me. I do like that genre. So even now that I can enjoy that stuff, but
that's the weird thing.
That quote of not to cut you all off. There's that quote of you never read the same book twice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you're all, like you guys said, you're always at a different point in your life. Although I will say I did DNF Red Rising. So.
Oh well, hey, it's a different point in your life now.
Have you finished it?
No, I read 100 pages. I was like, this kind of sucks, and I moved on with my day.
Damn. You went, man, I don't really want to read space Hunger Games. I'm done.
Yeah, this is just mid Hunger Games. Yeah. I'm glad
I DNF'd it much before then, actually. I mean, I've read it now and I love it, but I DNF'd it right. I was at a pretty rough time in my life emotionally with my kid being born, going through health issues, and I wasn't ready for something that emotional, and a certain somebody died right at the start of the book. I'm like, okay, that's enough. And I picked it up like 2 years later and then loved it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's such an interesting point, though, that you made about like reading things at different times in life, because I've definitely, I've found when it's a difficult time for me, I'm like, we're going to one of my favorites. We're going to reread, something that like I know what's happening, but kind of just like what you were saying about Wheel of Time. Like I know these characters, and it just feels nice to spend time with them again.
Who is the author, or what is the series that you kind of go home to of? You're in that slump. You need you have just the dialed in expectations of what you're going to get. You need it, and like you always come home if you're feeling bad, you're in a reading slump. What is that for you guys?
Apparently, Rebecca Yaros for Nicholas here.
Yeah,
He's
no.
a super fan.
The one that I was thinking of that I went to at a difficult time was The Name of the Wind. Don't judge me. Don't judge
Patch
me.
Gruffus.
Like,
Don't worry, we'll judge
Yeah,
silently this episode.
Yeah. No, yeah, Patrick Rothfuss, Name of the Wind. I think I went on to Wise Man's, but like that was I'm a slow reader anyway, so I'm like, good, this will be like a, week's worth of just familiarity,
For the viewers who don't know, we were on the Nebula podcast with them talking Name of the Wind, Death of the Author, everything. We were also there were some games that we were playing too that were a lot of fun. So go check out that video. We'll have that link down below.
Plus, it got heated.
It
We got into like several fights.
Oh,
I
seven.
know.
Yeah. It was after
love
Rich
it.
called you a 3. I think that was the biggest fight.
Well, I agree with you on that.
Without context.
Oh, you guys want to say? You guys remember the cuck chair comments? There were like 4 of those.
Wait, were there?
You guys want to say without context?
Wait, did we
Yeah.
say that?
Yeah.
Oh, forget times.
Hey, it was a long episode. I forgot we mentioned that. Yeah, did we?
It was,
Wow.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah,
There
then
was
Jeff wanted to commit
definitely
suicide. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Yeah. The
That
last
was a little
word
far.
ZB said.
I'm glad you're still
The
with
last
us.
word-
I'm
The
glad you're
last thing ZB said was "Go Jeff yourself." That was pretty,
I forgot about that.
we're celebrating
That was
this.
the podcast.
Or Jeff, he's here again. Let's go. Keep
Yeah, I'm still here.
Jeff didn't Jeff himself.
Yeah.
Jeff didn't.
That got a
Jeff
bit
himself.
ruthless.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, well, hey, we were all returned. With I wanted the follow up question to the you reading this book at a particular time in your life. How much as well? I guess I'm thinking this from the reviewer perspective of, hey, do you view yourself as just a reader who reviews stuff, or as a critic? What term do you put on that? Because how much does it matter when the book itself was written? Of these tropes that you notice and you find cliche. Well, guess what? It started them. Or this was the foundational book. This was the story that led to the stuff that you like today. Of people could how much can you say these classics that go back to hundreds and hundreds of years to a reader in that contemporary time that might have been revolutionary.
Well, it's maybe not the same thing of like setting the tropes, but the experience that I had was reading Dracula for the first time and realizing like me knowing the contemporary knowledge on Dracula and the powers and the different things that vampires can do.
Yeah.
If you were reading Dracula at the time it was written, all of the like I was noticing scenes that like, man, this should actually be very thrilling, exciting, and mysterious. It just isn't though for me, and I know that that's not the book's fault. How could I blame the book? The book set those things for the.
Yeah.
I've just happened to have been born later, and I know these tropes, like the fact that Dracula can become a bat.
Spoilers.
I know, but
What?
I know, but the bat following in certain key scenes is supposed to be a mystery. And yet me knowing like, yeah, no, Dracula can turn into a bat. It's like, it's not a mystery anymore. And
Yeah.
so that's one of those things. I couldn't blame the book for that. That's
How could you?
yeah,
right?
that's not fair.
It's not fair at all. What
So how would you like? I mean, in that instance, how would you kind of review that one? What would you like? I feel like the way to do it would be like, here's the thing. Here's why it didn't work for me, but why like it was still meaningful at the time. Like kind of point that out in the review. Is that what you would do? Or
Yeah, the focus mainly is with our categories, at least. Those I can judge absent of my personal experience. Most of them. Emotional impact matters to how I emotionally connected to it. But I can judge characters, plot, world building. I can judge those separately from my own emotional experience. But despite all that, I still really like Dracula, actually. So it's not, I didn't dislike the book. I actually really, really liked the book. Especially part 1. Part 1 is one of the best horror stories I've ever read. It's just so well written, brilliantly done. But that's beside the point. That's at least my experience of how can I blame the book in that sense of it.
Right.
It set these trends. It set the tropes.
Right. Do
I
you,
do think I'm going to reveal myself to be a little bit of a hipster here, but
yeah.
Anthony Fantano's way of reviewing is probably the best way to do it, where he's got like modern reviews, and then every once in a while he does a classic review, where it's important to keep in mind like they invented the tropes and whatever.
Oh.
I think what gets weird for us is like the '90s.
But he's the
Like,
song guy, right? He's the one that reviews the music.
Yeah. The
okay.
internet's busiest music nerd, I believe, is what he calls himself.
Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, the
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah, like the '90s for fantasy is, I'm not going to say like a dead spot, but like it's a dead spot. Yeah. This is YouTube. We gotta get controversial.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of good fantasy shit in the '90s. In the
The
80s,
'90s ruined fantasy.
That's a great title. Okay, we got a next video.
God, there we go.
Thank you, guys.
Reviews completely destroying reading.
The 90s make me want to
Samson had a
jeff
good
myself. ZB,
So,
sorry, you had a point. We keep.
Oh, it's all right. I'm a 3. I know my place.
Today you're 5.
Listen.
You've gone up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I don't think I have for everybody, but I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But so Samson had a good point about publishers were trying to kind of copy what made Lord of the Rings work. Whereas like in the 80s and the 70s, they kind of let shit get weird. That's why you have like the Gene Wolfes and everything. Whereas in the 90s, they're like, no. We just need. That's how you get Wheel of Time. The worst book series ever written.
ZB, you've gone up to a 10. Oh my god, I love him. Full turnaround. I'm totally a fan. Song of the Damned is actually my favorite book. You guys
right.
should all go read it. It's lovely. Oh my goodness.
Oh man, we're clipping that.
Yeah, so I think it's weird, like in the 90s where like the tropes were kind of getting reinvented. That's a hard spot to talk about. But anything before that is kind of easy to talk about because you got to, give credit to the age, except for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which sucks. But anything other than that, yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due.
Haven't read that one yet. I definitely need
Awful.
to.
0 out of 10 book.
That bad? Oh,
Dude, it's the worst. Not to give you guys a spoiler, but the concept of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, no.
So
I didn't actually know it was a book.
This is kind of an expectations thing. You guys have seen the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
no.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No? Oh, that's a fun
he turns into
movie.
like the Hulk in the movie. When he gets mad or whatever, he takes his drug.
Yeah.
In the book, he turns into, and I'm quoting the book, he turns into a midget and beats people to death with his cane. And that's like the whole story of the book. And it's awful.
I mean, isn't the point that there is no Hyde?
No, he just pretty much a Hyde, from what I remember.
No, I thought that was like the whole thing of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. If it's supposed to be separate personalities, and it's all Dr. Jekyll. kind of-
I mean, you and I are the big dummies who didn't understand Book of the New Sun for a while, so maybe I just missed that. But
That's very fair. I always thought it was mainly like the tale of a psychopath, and it's supposed to be like you're supposed to at some point think like, oh, it's a transformation, when really it's just like the two sides of a psychopath and
No,
his
he was definitely taking
self-justification
drugs.
for it. Yeah,
he had some kind of potion. Yeah.
I thought that was just like narrative lies. Whatever. I thought it was like the unreliable narrator thing, but maybe
You guys should read
I'm
it
wrong.
and then be like, do expectations actually matter? Because it's 0 out of 10. It is so bad.
That would help solve it. There are plenty of book reviews, movie reviews, anything where, or not reviews, people suggesting and recommending them where I like them just because of my expectations were so dead low. I joke, but Red Rising, that happened a little bit because you like Red Rising.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, read this. And I read it and go, why didn't you have me read this sooner? Or where somebody has recommended something, or not, they said something so bad about it, like where you and Mike's book reviews are talking about the Lightbringer series and how bad it ends. You
Yes.
guys have emphasized to me it's one of the worst, and it's horrible. Awful ending.
Yes.
So bad.
One of the worst endings to a amazing series.
Yes.
Book one,
who knows
knocks your
what I'll think
socks
about
off.
that, right? And I mean, I can't speak to this didn't happen to me, but our acquaintance John, good old John. I say this because he hadn't watched Game of Thrones the show, and since it came out, and he decided just this last year to start watching the show, start to finish. And he knows,
poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy. He knows how awful it ends. We're all telling him like it's objectively awful television. The last season destroys it all. He watches and goes like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad. Everybody's saying it's one of the worst things. It's not that bad." And he says, "Oh, it kind of made sense." There's a whole. Then I yelled at him for a while, but to him, he's hearing it's the worst season finale. Oh my God, it's awful. And he's watching the show after all the hype. He wasn't a big fan to begin with, so all of his expectations were just wired completely differently. So when he saw that ending, he went like, "Oh, okay," and that was it. Versus someone like me who's watching every season come out. Oh my, I'm getting so hyped, and finally watched this last season, which I have the highest of expectations for. Which leads into the question I have for you all of when you're reading a series, how much that final book in a series is pulling, and the gargantuan task you have for an epic fantasy author or for any type of series to stick the landing. I mean, that alone is going to have you basically have books and books and books of promise, and this is going to be the payoff of the whole series. What do you all think that means when it comes to, I mean, series that you write, and how much pressure is that to your first book compared to your last?
Yeah, I mean, my two examples of series that like, nailed the ending and stuck the ending is Wisdom of Crowds is the greatest trilogy ender of all time. That is an amazing book. And that whole time I was reading that trilogy, I was like, this is 9.5 out of 10, and then it went to 11.
Damn.
Yeah, it's the greatest. But Attack on Titan is something. Have you guys finished Attack on Titan? Anybody watched it?
I've not.
I watched some of it, but then I was told about the ending.
Okay,
I know
those people lied because it sticks the landing. So what Attack on Titan does is it layers and layers and layers twists. So there's 30 twists throughout the whole thing, right? So you kind of expect the ending to be this 10 out of 10 amazing twist, and it really just sticks it. Doesn't mess it up, but it doesn't exceed like this level of hype that you have. That's why people hate Attack on Titan's ending, because it's really not bad. It's fine. So yeah, I think to your point about expectations potentially ruining series is very valid. Because if your last work's not your best, you're fucked. You're bummed.
That's the last impression you get too of the series. It's why Sun Eater for me, the last two books for me were my favorite. That does so much for it. Book one, I actually didn't like book one of Sun Eater, but it literally doesn't matter. I loved every other book in the series, and it just the quality of it sticking the landing was such a big feature for me. But yeah, does it happen when you guys are writing it all? Do you have completed series yourself? Or currently?
No, I don't.
No.
So,
no.
If you do get to, sorry, Nicholas, what was that?
Also no.
I guess for that anticipating, is there any pressure that would grow for the further you get along in a series? Like, you can't speak from experience yet, but is there any feelings you currently have? Are you working on anything that's leading toward this ultimate conclusion?
Yeah, for me, so Song of the Damned is a frame narrative like Book of the New Sun or King Killer Chronicles, or whatever you want to pull from. So everything's already planned out and orchestrated and all that. So it's not the plot that I'm worried about nailing. It's really the execution. Because to your point about, it's the last impression you get to make, I'll even go a step further. It would be much better to write a book where the beginning and the middle suck and the ending is great than vice versa. Because if you fuck up the ending of the book, you're bummed. You're bummed.
Yeah.
You said that's the last impression you get to make. It is much better to leave a nice taste in the reader's mouth and kind of just mess up the middle than vice versa.
I mean, that was my experience with James Islington's Lycanis trilogy. Book one, not good. Book two, slightly better in some aspects, but ultimately, not great. Book three knocked it out of the park of made him one of oh, this is an author I am following now. He's stuck the landing so hard that I trust him. I have faith in this author. But yeah, and then same thing with Brenton Weeks with Lightbringer of amazing books all the way to the end, and then just destroyed it. And it's a book series I ultimately can't recommend to many people because I just don't like the ending that much.
Does he still write? Because like people hated that.
I've
Doesn't he?
kept around. I've tried finding other stuff. So he had another series. He wrote the Empire of a Vampire, I believe he did that one.
No, it's Jay
No.
Kristoff.
It's not.
What's? I thought he did a vampire one. Because Brent Weeks had a series before it.
The Black
Night
Prism.
Angel.
Nope, that's the first
No,
book
that's
of
Lightbringer.
Lightbringer. What's his other series?
He's got
He had Night Angel.
Night Angel.
Night
trilogy.
Angel. I think that's also a vampire thing, but
No, that's just like an assassin thing. Also ended terribly, in my opinion.
and
not
not
like
terribly.
The other one though.
Damn.
It got real weird sex-wise. I'm normally kind of like, let authors be weird and do weird sex shit.
I mean, you like Patrick
was
Ruffus, so.
Oh, hey, cucking is mainstream now. We all have a share in our hotel room. We all know what the game is.
You see what it's like to edit with them, you know?
This is not being edited here. This is
With the cuck chair involved, I am in favor of kink shaming. The cuck chair should be shamed. There's plenty of kinks that deserve shame and condemnation.
Speaking of shame, hey Jeff. So I got a question for you. So you being involved with a lot of these indie books. Now you've read some, you haven't read some, I'm sure, and not all of them that you've been the artist for. Do you believe there should be a curve when somebody is an indie author versus a trad author? Just when the expectation of what you're getting in that package, in the same way an independent film versus something directed, by these big name studios. Do you think it's right? What do you think? Do you think that the viewer, the reader, should go in with their expectations like, okay, I need to be aware this is an indie book. I should go in with these expectations before you even start page one?
I mean, I think there is a certain amount of like trad publishing, just having that filter of it's going to be at least this quality for the most part.
Yeah.
And indie doesn't always have that. There's a lot of really, really, really bad indie books. And there are some really bad trad books. So I would say it'll probably take out the bottom 30%, maybe. I don't know how much exactly, but there's a certain level it filters out, I would say. But I think they can also be some of the best ones you'll ever read and be more creative, especially. So I would say it does probably take out that bottom 30%. So you might be getting a 1 with a book, whereas with trad, you probably aren't.
Yeah.
So other than that, though, I wouldn't say, I'd probably not say that it's going to be, if it's a trad book, it's going to be better necessarily. It's just going to take off that, like it's filtering out a certain amount.
Yeah.
But I think indie allows you to do whatever you want, which is really good, because trad, you really have to tailor it to, I mean, they're trying to make money at a big scale with people who don't necessarily always know what they're doing. There's lots of different opinions involved, and it's really hard to make a big machine like that move. So they're tailoring it to a certain audience that maybe isn't still there. So I think there's also that to put into consideration.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I know my expectations into an indie book are kind of like two sides of. I generally go with slightly lower lower expectations on things like maybe dialogue, and some of the prose aspects, like just some of that polish I go down on. However, my expectations generally rise in terms of novelty of like, I generally go into an indie book expecting a little something fresh of, hey, I'm expecting a little bit of a twist or a little bit of a genre bend that I just don't see that often. Something unique and fun, like that. This couldn't really be done in traditionally published, or it just generally wouldn't be. That's at least my expectation going into most indie books of like, there's a reason that sets it apart. At least that's what I am. Do you have different expectations?
Can I ask you, because I want to ask you, I'm more curious about,
Sure.
when we judged the SBFBO, did you rate those books based on just a book, or this is an indie competition? Because we just had this experience of reviewing 10 books and judging them on a critical lens.
Yeah, no, I judged it as a book. I think maybe there was maybe it was in my head a little bit of, hey, this is an indie book, especially when it comes to like prose.
Sure.
Am I as harsh as it could? Like, am I given a 0.25 adjustment of like
bonus or
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I judged it as a book
Just
that
a
we
book.
read. Yeah.
Likewise, it's always tough though to know, hey, how would things have been different? Because again, that first example with The Devils being written by your mom or Joe Abercrombie, it's like impossible to separate what you do know about something going. You can't just erase that. So it's weird. And I try to as well. I try to go, hey, I'm just trying to judge this on its own in this vacuum outside of things. But that's something for, I guess, for the authors here. You having books, and when you see somebody engage or review a book of yours, what is the best case scenario for like how would you want your own book's expectations set? Like personally, what would you like people to do going into your book? Like, how would you say, hey, this is my book, here's the expectations to set? Is it really just this is what the book, here's the things, like if you like this genre, this type of thing, this thing, you'll like my book? Or do you do more than that in your elevator pitches?
I think that is so tough, actually, because like I do think, sort of going back, the reading experience benefits from low expectations, right?
Yep.
But you're not going to sell a book by telling them, hey, check out this book. It's all right. Like
Kind of sucks.
Right. So you
3 out of 10.
have to kind of, right. Yeah. I wrote this book. It kind of sucks, whatever, but here you go, like that's no one's going to be like, oh, great. Here's my $5. Yeah, I'll spend my weekend on that. Like, but
that is a weird,
so
it's a weird paradox.
Yeah.
Right? You have to hype it up. You have to talk big about it. I think one of the ways that works about it is to kind of build personal connections between like yourself and create an author brand and make it more than just the story. This story is, like a sci-fi, but it's really about my experience as a veteran and healing in whatever. Okay, that's an interesting concept. And, I've seen authors do exactly that, and it's effective.
I'm going to disagree hard. Now, this goes back to our original conversation about death of the author.
Yes.
Personally, I don't want to know that shit, personally.
Yeah,
I don't like reading blurbs. I don't really want to know that much about the author. I just want to get into the story.
So, but what makes you pick up the story then?
Cover is a little bit of a thing for me where I can kind of tell if I like the vibes. And then usually just seeing people talk about it, like I'm kind of at the point now where if a book has 0 ratings, I just don't have time, And so if I see a buddy say like it's the best book I've ever read, going back to expectations or whatever, that's what does it for me.
I'm actually with you on that point, specifically if the book has to be pitched or it is marketed with the author's backstory. I don't know if that's always it's probably it is effective. See, we talked about this before. There was a TikTok controversy of like basically a woman selling this book and giving kind of a sob story of
right. I remember that one, because it was this manufactured sob story, which really took away from it, right?
Exactly. And
so because nobody came to the book signing.
Right.
But there was actually no book signing. It was just manufactured to make it look like nobody was showing up to the author. And so people bought the book out of sympathy, not because they were there for the quality of the book, essentially. Yeah.
Sympathy marketing is never a good long-term strategy, you know?
However, I do get your point, Nicholas, of if you set it up of, hey, look, here's a veteran coping with, PTSD, and this is an outlet. I mean, as far as that goes, I can see that being an appeal of like, oh, this person could get it. This person may understand. Like adds some like its credentials and credibility. Like if you can hear a little bit of the author's story.
By Blood, by Salt's written by she's in the military.
Oh yeah,
so
no.
You go, I see how she's able to express these themes and so fast. Yeah,
it's certainly an expectation.
By the way, Jill Odom, she's great. Yeah.
That's an expectation setter of like, oh, hey, here's a military fantasy. And by the way, it's also written by a veteran.
Yeah.
She knows a little bit about this stuff.
Back to my point, though, because I read it not knowing that, and I loved it. It's not only one of the best indie fantasies I've read, it's one of the best fantasies. That book rules.
It does.
But I didn't know she was a veteran, and you know, I think that would have taken away some of the enjoyment if I did.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean,
Would have it
I
raised your
get that it doesn't
expectations
work
maybe
for
too
you.
much?
I think it's just like you're kind of on the lookout for like self-insert. Like, are you like, oh, there she is? You know, that's what I don't want to do.
Oh yeah, strange because the magic of a book is you want to forget there's an author.
Yeah.
You truly do want to forget that this is being. You're so immersed, you're not noticing like, oh, of course, Rich would say that line like democracy is cringe in the book. Like Teeter my totter, Austin's all over this book. Why? And now I can't stop thinking about.
Yeah. That's why we're reading fantasy, is to get out of
Yeah, you do want to escape
out of people's opinions in a way.
Yes. Is that weird? Just like a magician would, they want you to forget that there's a trick in the first place. They want you to like believe the illusion, which it feels completely real to us. Like fiction is more real than reality to me. Like we can go into all that, but it's that kind of weird, also both ways of thinking where you want to forget about it, but then at the same time, an indie author, you're pitching your book. What like ZB, what would you say to somebody to want to pick up your book? Of you have to pitch it. How would you pitch your book?
So I normally just kind of pitch it as it is, like where it's a frame narrative, Abercrombie meets Rothfuss, and then so one thing that I do as an author, and I'm getting a little on tangent here, but there's aspects of making a book, right? Like there's the plot, the prose, the dialogue, whatever. If you're an author, what I think you should do, if you're an aspiring author, you should look at the 100 whatever books you've read and be like, I like this person's plot the most, I like this person's prose, whatever. And then break that down and kind of try to emulate some of that. So I'll just kind of start throwing out names, you know, I'll just fucking scatter them. Like Anna Smith Sparks a little bit prose, Anthony Ryan's in there, Steven Erickson's world building a touch, you know. I'll just keep fucking throwing darts, right, until I hit something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
and the last time I sold books, you know, at an event, I would just ask people like, what's your favorite book? And then once they tell me what they like, it's like, okay, well, if you like this, here's why you'd like mine. Which, you know, when you're pitching smut in a parking lot, it's not great, but you do what you gotta do for sales.
Well, it does bring me back to Nicholas made a good point of when you were being recommended a book, what helped you was not someone saying, oh, this is the best book of all time. Set your expectations right. Like you need something, and you can't be like, oh, this book sucks. Lower the bar of expectations. Your friend would say, hey, you should read it for the characters. The character work is fantastic of the XYZ reason, but like setting the expectations high on a little part seems like a good way of like, that's a moderate expectation level. Instead of saying everything is perfect, set their expectations high for an aspect, a key element of the story, like whatever the best element of your story is, you think, or whatever you think it is. If you think, hey, all things considered, I think the plot. I write a really tight, interesting, nail biting plot. Then that's the focus. Hey, you should read this book. It's this genre. The plot is on the edge of your seat, nail biting. Like setting just that seems like maybe the right move.
What I see very commonplace for indies right now is blank meets blank meets blank, which is a very good way to set expectations. Like Michael Michelle, who wrote Price of Power, uses like Game of Thrones meets First Law meets X-Men. Like that's a good little pitch. Now I'm interested. You know, so I think the meets is a good way to do it.
Even with Jed Hearn, our friend Jed Hearn, who does a writing, he has plenty of books. He's an author and gives writing advice on his channel. He was talking in a recent video about helping authors come up with titles for their books as well, because talking about how just titles alone set the expectation for what you're going to read. So when you hear The Way of Kings, it gives you a vibe of, this is going to be something noble, kingly. It's going to be, what is The Way of Kings? I imagine that's going to be the experience. Or you hear The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You expect comedic because, a hitchhiker? Oh, their guide. Oh, so the galaxy. Oh, it gives the whimsy already from the title. Like a good title can set your expectations up. And then with Jeff, a cover that you have as well along with that can set up your expectations. When I wanted to buy The Way of Kings. I hadn't read it. I heard some things, but that's why we initially got it was, that's sick. Looks very cool.
Yeah.
The Way of Kings. That's probably for me. I know it's fantasy. That does enough for you to even pick it up in the first place. And I know in a vacuum, we'd all love to. A good way to look at art is expect the promise the book itself gives you. So in that first chapter and that first act, that is what you should truly expect. Of all right, what is this book going for here? What are they setting up in Act 1? This should be my proper expectations. But it kind of proceeds even before that with those little things or any nibblings that you hear in the background. I think a lot about that when we're reviewing things of like, hey, how much is this me versus how much what is the me factor versus what is the book factor? And that's hard. It's really hard to figure out. And that's what we try to get better at, of going, okay, this is hey, let me let you all know this is a me thing here versus I think this is a book problem or story problem, whatever it is. What do you guys think too much? I know, Jeff, with covers, are you involved in the naming of them at all? Or is it more so?
I try to get involved in it when they're bad.
Oh, no.
So I totally, one thing that'll happen a lot is I will say, if there's like, we're on book 1 and they've got like a really awesome series title, but the main title is just like, that's just like the most boring name, and it's like got a made up world name in the title, and then it's just like a basic word. It's like, so this is really good, the series title, can we put that as the big title?
Oh no.
And so I'll like argue for that, and sometimes I'll just like, if I'm feeling confident, I'll just tell them, you know what, the title's really important. These words that you're putting in here, just, if you're willing to, if you're not, totally fine, it's not my place, but as far as this affects the cover, this affects your marketing. So like having some words in there that have some that say something emotionally, genre, anything, is good to getting a bit of that. So I definitely try to. I think titles are underrated as far as how they go to selling a book, being memorable in terms of recommending one even.
Oh yeah.
Very, very underrated. Yeah.
There's so many iconic titles that just feel epic. It's even talking Dune.
Yeah.
Cool. Dune. Love it.
Honestly, and it's also the big letters of it. It's not like the tiny little thing. It's Dune. The big like you just
confident.
Feel, you feel especially the added in the cover of you see the big sand dudes, the big worm. Dune.
I'll give you credit, like the Wheel of Time. That's epic. Sounds epic. Too bad the story's not, but the Wheel of Time is,
your boo. I see what makes you cheer. Your boos mean nothing. The boos of a quitter is what I hear.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you guys.
Read 6 books of trash does not make him a quitter. That makes him wise.
11 out of 10 now. You've broken the charts. What was that?
Want to do an after-hour show, just me and you. I'm there.
We'll get the cuck chair first. What were you saying, Nick? I'm sorry, Nicholas.
I'll have to show you guys later. Jeff did the typography on my cover for Shattered.
Yeah.
And yeah, like as you're talking about Dune, the way it kind of shows, I thought the cover looked good, and then Jeff changed the typography, and I was like, I was blown away. It made such a difference. It's amazing what just the way those letters are arranged, and can make such a difference.
Yeah. How often do you guys review books often, or is it you're on the writer space, you're in the discussion space? Did you ever give your public opinions that often about? Well, clearly you are in this episode saying I like this or don't like this, but do you go out of your way to put these reviews publicly and share with people?
Yeah, I do. I review for Grimdark Magazine, so I usually get 2 to 3 reviews out a month, and then sometimes I'll just read shit not for Grimdark, and I'll just, whenever I finish, I just finished Fall Hyperion 2 days ago, maybe. Just put a quick tweet out, being like 4 out of 5. Not as good as the first one, but still very good.
Nice. Yeah. Do you view yourself as, I guess I'll define these terms, but a reviewer or a critic? Like reviewer as in just, hey, this is my feelings?
No. No. Even though by definition I certainly am, but no, I view myself as like a writer, and then like 40 ellipses, and then critic.
Fair enough. Yes. Yeah.
No one would choose to be, a critic over.
I'm a critic who also wrote a book.
Yeah. That's never.
No.
Like that's all we have. We're not.
For now.
I know for now, but as soon as that happens,
what word would you say? How would you define yourself?
Correct.
You know what? The correct. Yeah, I identify as correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I probably should just lean into critic. Like, we do a podcast, we have a whole rating schema. We talk in depth about what else are critics?
Is that a better title than podcaster to you? Is that more elitist and feels like you're part of a better?
I
community?
do like the elitism of it to some degree. Yeah,
I could see it.
It does throw me off when I find myself agreeing with the people, the populace. Like I just know, like, something's wrong with me. I had an off day. I ate that Costco hot dog just really it messed with my innards. I felt too much like one of the people. That
actually brings up a topic I wanted to ask you guys. I'm saying,
how does a Costco hot dog? Wait, what?
No, not that. Well, okay, I'll bring the Costco hot dog. And what you're saying is like that's the masses all enjoy this. So there's a few like psychological things going on, I think, and I'm like wondering how much that affects you guys. And it's hard to know because it's hard to know how our own brains work. But how much does it affect you? To like, there's, for example, like jumping on the bandwagon of something's really successful, so everybody's all hyped about it and wanting to join in on the hype, versus also cheering for the underdog is another kind of thing that we kind of might want to do, which is the opposite of that maybe. And I think there's a bunch of other things like that you'd want to like something before you even start because of one of those things, and how much that affects.
Oh, fantastic question. Yeah, I thought about that. I mean, honestly, from my point of view, I do think about that because I know the people that are watching the review of a book we're posting have read that book and are fans most likely. Like 95% of the time, nobody's going to click. Our SPFB, our indie book stuff, gets less views because books people haven't heard of, and it's people seeking like, should I read this? There's certainly that segment of the audience, but it's going to be a majority people have read it and are likely fans. So when I'm posting, Last Argument of Kings is a great example of I was disappointed by the ending, and it's super popular. Yeah. Like, see ZB's even. Look at him. Oh, what's that?
No, that book is awesome.
See, yes, and that is
the ending.
That exactly, and that is the popular. That is the consensus, and I know that's the consensus. So when I read the part of my brain is certainly going like I should be less harsh to the book because I'm like, you know what? It's more me. Let me be less. Okay, clearly a lot of people see the positives in it, but I do see it as a mental challenge for myself, at least. I see it as a mental challenge to like stick to as honest as I can possibly be. Just at but I have to work to that because my first gut reaction is like, it's nice to like things. Like it's also just more of my. I'd like to be optimistic in general. Like, okay, it's nice to like things. So when it's a negative one, it's hard to. It's not my natural inclination like it is Rich, of course. But it's certainly hard to go like, all right, I know people are going to disagree, so the best thing I can do is like try. It's a harder challenge because now you have to defend a position that is unpopular. And that I find is more of a challenge of like, all right, now I've got to really like think through why did this not connect? I really have to dig deeper. It's much easier when you like the thing because it kind of takes less thought. It's like, oh, I liked it, and so do a bunch of people. Great. But then when, like Name of the Wind, for example, when we talk about it, you have to dig and specifically find out exactly what is it that doesn't work that everybody else loves about that. So I feel like I understand it hopefully better. So that's just something with me that goes through. But what about you? Do you find, does that resonate or different?
Maybe somewhat similar. It takes a lot more mental work to rationalize a book you dislike and hate of something very popular. However, my favorite position to be in is liking something very unpopular. That's my favorite. I love that. I live in that space.
That just happened with a movie we watched, actually. Like, everybody hates this movie, and we're like, we thought it was pretty good.
It's fine. It's good popcorn flick.
Yeah.
The movie is Mercy.
Just came out.
The Chris Pratt movie. And everyone's dogging on it, and like, yeah, I get it. I could very easily create a very negative review of it, but no, I had a fun time. it's a good turn your brain off action movie. It's fine.
Is that the AI judge one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's well hated though.
Yeah, that
You'd
looks
also
horrible.
probably hate it, but it's
Oh, it looks awful.
yeah, it does actually. We looked at the poster and went, I said I'm not watching this movie. It looks horrible. But we have our movie channel now, which if our viewers don't know, go check out our movie channel, To the Ramble Movies. And we were like, it's the biggest movie coming out this weekend. We'll watch it. And our expectations, going back to this, my expectation for that movie was
floor.
No, like below to Helheim. It was like dig and dig and dig because everything about it looked awful. And it was so low that maybe we watched and it went, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
Do you think there was any level of yourself that was like you wanted to watch it just to be a rebel?
Yes.
Or do you wanted to like it?
No,
Rebel?
not that. It was the
Here's
opposite.
the opposite. I walked into the theater telling Austin, going, you know what? We've been watching too many good movies lately. I really want to do a hate review. That's what I want. I am looking forward to it. I want the rant. I just want to dog on a movie.
Yeah.
So I was going in there expecting to hate it and going to relish in that fact. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's very unpopular to say that, though. You know,
it was fun.
It is what it is. Yeah. Sorry, Nicholas, you were saying something?
No, you're fine.
But Jeff, did we veer off the question at all?
Of course we did.
No, that was great.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Sorry.
But that one benefited from your low expectations, right? Which I think it makes it easier to enjoy a thing when you have the low expectations. One example I have where even though I had, rock bottom expectations, it still was dog shit, was M. Night Shyamalan's Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's got to be the worst movie
my
ever
God.
made, pretty much.
Dude, I was ready to because I could enjoy like a bad movie, like a campy bad movie, and be like, this is still funny, but it wasn't even that. It's
boring
so bad.
Oh yeah. That's the worst of.
I love the scene, the rock scene, and you just see a rock floating like a pebble, and like Avatar. It's real bad. We actually have an episode where we defend the movie.
Oh really?
We do.
Yeah.
Where if you want to check, we do
one
say we make an argument for why it's the greatest movie of all time. It was one of our earlier episodes, and we make a defense, and you let us know. Viewers can let us know if we make a good defense of it. So we try.
You're gonna get a new comment soon.
We are. Yes, I think I do.
You guys tried so hard. That's gonna be my comment.
but Rich,
We put a lot of
We'll
work
see.
into really a full steel manning. A steel man the defense.
And I'm not kidding. So Rich, I think it was halfway through, made an incredible point about that. Actually, was convincing me it was a fantastic movie. So it did shock me.
It's a long running thing I've wanted to do since the start of the channel. Is I've wanted to do movie debates, but devil's advocate movie debates.
I mean, you did in that episode. You did it well.
I would love a movie debate of comparing The Dark Knight versus Batman and Robin. Which movie is a better Batman movie? And I would love to take the side of Batman and Robin. I want that.
Yeah.
I would spend a lot of time watching that movie and taking copious notes to get a good argument.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of Batman movies, though, the expectations this just came to mind.
Yeah.
I went into Batman vs Superman hyped. I don't know if you guys remember.
That's
that trailer is amazing.
One of the best movie trailers ever made.
I'll give you the best, the greatest all time. And that movie is dog shit. That movie sucks so hard.
Yeah, no. I'm totally agreeing with you.
Yeah.
What is our conclusion here for expectations of they exist, they can help, they can't help? It depends.
Ultimately, I think condensed down is you need expectations. You want the minimum amount to actually pick up the book and start reading.
Yeah.
But no more. Any more and it's harmful.
Yeah.
So you need to find what's the minimum amount to get them to pick up the book. and then give
You
them no
are
more
my
than
least
that.
favorite person to agree with, and God damn it, I got to agree with that. That's a correct.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Guys,
That's a really like well put and succinct. I was just gonna say expectations ruin books again,
guys, thank you for coming on the pod, chatting expectations with us. Again, viewers, these guys are from Nerdy Nebula Podcast, and all their links to their books, their websites will be in the link in the description below. I will give you each a chance. CB, any final words?
Thanks for having me. I know you guys talked off stage to me about how I'm your favorite author, whatever. So yeah, if you guys do want to follow in their footsteps, these books are available on Amazon. If you like Joe Abercrombie, Patrick Rothfuss, Anthony Ryan, just throwing fucking darts at the screen at this point. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having us. I didn't get to pick on Nick as much as I'd like to, so we'll work on that next time. But yeah, this was a blast.
Nick, any retort? You get to speak after, so he can't defend himself if you want to throw darts back.
Yeah, I feel fine about that coming from a 3, Also, I think it's funny I get the target when Dante and Dana aren't here. He doesn't want to like go after Jeff because he still wants that free cover. No, thank you guys for having us. It's an absolute blast. Love chatting with you. Links down below. Read often and nerd out.
And Jeff, who you have an 11th month pipeline right now for your book covers. We were talking about that before we started, so you got to get back to work after this. Any final words?
I mean, thanks so much for having us on. Fantastic conversation as always. I appreciate it a lot, guys.
Thank you guys, and we can nerd out anytime. And Rich, that's it for us.
Yeah.
So,
see y'all later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.